Hello guys and welcome to another one. This one is going to be me talking about the towers of Olympia and just how to get through it as an earlier game character. So this is my baby account, level 231, and I'm gonna give you guys some tips on classes to choose, specializations, paths to take in the tower, and so on. Now I'm trying to find the other tower here because I don't want to use my baby tower here because it only has 13 floors. Not that I'm going to get through all 13 in the video, but yeah, it's just too easy and the rewards are like super scaled down. So my first tip would be, for your maximum view distance, you are going to want to come to the magistrate class, where it has eternal light, which is a view distance passive like realm shifter, but it also has the ability to wear the warrior's skyfalling helmet that has the 10% view distance bonus. So you're going to try to find as much view distance as possible, because all you really need to do is see the tower, enter it. Let me change my pet. How do I have to move closer to this? I think oh, I didn't change to it. I'll just change to realm shifter. Okay, so all you really need to do is see it, enter it, and then you can change over into whatever you're planning to use. So because I'm a heretic main, I chose to use heretic, but then I found that it was really cool and really easy with heretic. Granted, I do have some decent gear on this account, and your gear is going to be one of the deciding factors for sure. So I'm going to go through some gear that you can use, and some gear that if you're tier 9 now looking to do this content at tier 10, you can start hunting at tier 9. So obviously guys, if this video is informative, if you learned anything, if you liked listening, leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, leave a comment. Also, I'm not sure why the persons who won the comment summoning scrolls haven't collected them yet, but you guys should. Unless I didn't upload those videos, which I think I did. I'll have to double check, but at least one of those videos was uploaded and I was giving away summoning scrolls to 5 persons. So I'm not sure if the persons didn't know and they just commented, because I think one of the videos has 2 comments. Anyway, guys, remember to come over to my Discord and message me when you've won one of my giveaways. So that being said, let's get into the video. So first things first, I'm going to go through the classes and tell you which ones I think will excel at this whole tower thing. So Gilgamesh, for obvious reasons, tanky, can dish out a bit of damage even at the earlier game. You can use specializations like Charmer that has Warrior's Pavane. You can... It depends on what you are trying to do, honestly. So if you want to be extra tanky, you can use Catapack spec. Depending on your level, you would have had like Spike Shield or Spike Shield 2, and those are very useful if you have the gear for it. And the gear for it is available this month. One of the best in slot shields is the Spiked Great Shield. That plus a good Feyeti coat plus a good Feyeti horn, which are both found in tier 9+, with some good or decent Abyssal Greaves or Ashen Phoenician Greaves if you're very lucky. Or I guess you probably wouldn't have much access to Arisen Avalon gear. But all of those are really good on Gilga and would bring out the best in your Spike Shield. But as I said, if you can't use Spike Shield, or you're not confident in your gear, or you have like tanky gear without ward, then you can go for a more conservative setup with maximizing your defense and your resistance, and just using something like Warrior's Pavilion. Those are the two main ones I would recommend as an earlier game Gilga. But Gilga overall is a decent to great class depending on the gear. It will be decent without proper gear, maybe a bit slower, but it definitely is possible. As soon as 228, 229, especially 230 where you get Spike Shield 2. A lot more strategies, but I don't want to prolong just on one class. So if you guys have more questions, you can ask in the comment section, or you can come to my Discord and ask there, because I'm going to try to put out as much information, because I've been getting so many messages about how I do it and how, because it seems so easy to me, and then everybody's like, no, it's not. So I'm looking into ways of helping you guys to improve. Heretic, another decent to good class at it if you have the right gear. A bit slow too earlier game, but as you are more familiar with the towers and you know the do's and don'ts, which I'll be explaining in this video, then you'll get a lot faster. So I like Catapax spec with Heretic because it's so squishy. So I'm trying to bolster the stats that I do have. So when I have 5k defense and I have 5k resistance, I can get an additional 10% here, which would be like another 500, and I get another 12% HP, as well as starting each turn with ward, because as you guys know, there are some mobs in the tower that have foresight, and say you even misclick your ward first turn, because you should be warding first turn every single turn. Even on Gilga, I would ward just because it's just more absorption and you're free to use your potions. So like you're free to just go all out with protecting yourself, in my opinion. So I don't really take any chances. Maybe that's why it's so easy for me. I don't take any chances. I don't try to one-shot anything first turn. I just am calm and I will ward and I will wait. And then some fights, as I said, as I'm going through the tower, I'll explain it. But so Catapax spec for you for just going through the tower, especially on the tougher mobs with a good setup, which I'll show you soon. Magi isn't bad, honestly. It's not bad, but as I said, going through the towers, this is just going to make you a lot safer, and especially if you're a lot newer to the content, you're just going to want to play it safe. This one is decent if you're trying to I would say compared to Catapax spec, this one isn't even decent, because you restart your mana each fight, right? And the real power of Heretic comes from depleting your mana. So not only are you not using your mana fast enough as is because of Heretic's passive, but now you have even more of a burden to get into your Iconoclast passive. So I don't really like Magi for this. Sequencer is another great one for the boss fights. It just does so much damage if you can stay alive. So you have to make sure you can stay alive first. So if you don't know for sure that you can stay alive, you must stay on Catapax spec. Another good one for going through it, if you have an Amity that gives you ward at the start, you can try Assassin, and you can fill your weapon with action rate, obviously, and some things to inflict some type of status effect. So actually, I think I'm going to make this into a series, because this is already 9 minutes long. So this one is just going to focus on the classes and the specializations. Then the other one is going to be me going through the towers and giving you tips there. Okay, so I really liked Assassin when I was especially using the Amadan staff on my first playthrough on my main. But my main is a bit stronger, so my main wasn't really taking as much damage. No, you are going to take a bit of damage with this strategy, so you must, if you have stuff like Arisen, Fae, Banshee gear from Arisen Morrigan as a heretic, then you're probably safe doing this. But if you don't and you need something to help bolster your defense like the Arisen Wolven Tower Shield, then you're just going to have to go Catapax spec, as I said. It's very hard to beat it as is if you're newer, but as you get stronger, then you can be using other things like this. And there are so many different strategies you can use, because you can also use the strategy where you're debuffing the monsters or you're stun locking them via blight, sleep, actual stun, or whatever. So it's all up to you. And you would try to use a strategy like this if you're not confident in your ability to kill them quickly. Because as I said, you take so much damage that you just want to make sure you're safe. Now, I'm not going to dwell on this one. So Bayo, I was going to actually play through as Bayo because I was like, oh, Bayo might be safe. But then I was just like, I like Ashen Phoenix. So obviously Ashen Phoenix is what you're going to be using, or the baby tier 8 Phoenix here. And then when I started thinking about losing all the benefits from Ashen Phoenix, and then I actually couldn't afford deity at the time, I was forced to use Heretic. Because I was like, I think Bayo could be good with proper gear, with something like the green bird pet, just because of how much damage it is capable of doing. And then if I have my turns to do stuff like DC, that's even more damage. So I was thinking about killing the raid boss itself when I was trying to strategize for Bayo. So I'm actually going to have to look into Bayo's gameplay there, because I want to say Cactus should be good there, but the AoE, the split damage of the AoE, I just want it to kill one thing and then it kills another thing instead of lowering everything's HP, because there are some floors there with Mystic Feather. So stuff like that, I want those things one shot. That's why I don't like Cactus. But keep in mind that I have not tried it. This is just an opinion. I just don't think Bayo will be as strong as the first two classes I just mentioned. I would use the same type of stuff. I would throw in something like Raider, but this would only be if I have, as I said, the Amity that gives me ward and 50% ward absorption at the beginning of the fight, because if you don't have great gear, you're going to be so squishy. And why I even want to use Raider is for the Berserk 3, because it's going to help you with your tankiness instead of having to use something like a Smelly Mushroom, which most of us do not have many of. But guys, next month, so next month, Naganin, do not underestimate that raid. Those mushrooms are so good. I actually even use the spores it drops in my assassin build. It's very interesting. Don't overlook that raid, guys. Remember how I was telling you guys from in November about Arisen Morrigan and how useful her gear would be in here? Months later, without any knowledge of the towers, I just knew we had to be somewhat tanky. Right now, that is such great gear in the towers that I almost don't use anything else on my main, and I'm hunting it right now on my baby. And Bayo would be able to use that same gear. And as I said, you just want to be as tanky as possible. Luckily, you don't have to worry about stuff like Nidhogg, which is one of the stronger mobs, but there are still very powerful mobs in there. So Raider, Assassin, with the same advice I just gave on the Heretic, very similar, very similar. You are the debuffer and your pet is actually doing the damage. Whereas with Heretic, you would be doing some damage and the debuffs would be coming off regardless. And then you would also have the protection of your Ashen Phoenix as the heretic. And even as Gilga, I would bring Ashen Phoenix too. And I would bring some action rate to make sure it is constantly keeping DC up above my head so that I don't have to worry about that. Bayo, I feel like it's a sacrifice between protection and offensive capabilities. So I would dare say I would bring DC. I can actually afford it now, but I'm not going to waste my orange on deity at the minute. But deity is actually one of the best classes for this. Deity is actually one of the best classes for this. Okay, did I mention Realm Shifter? No, I didn't. So Realm Shifter, again, I'll say Catapack spec. It is just so good. The monsters are very unpredictable. You just never know. If I'm going Phoenix, I would go Raider. And as I said, and I keep saying, that Amity that gives you ward before the battle begins, it's A1. It is so helpful. It's either that or Catapack spec. And if you're going to bring the Phoenix, which I'd recommend because the tankiness of the DC, I would sacrifice the Berserk from the Fae Chimera for it, just to stay alive. This is earlier game. As you get stronger, you're going to switch it out because you want the offensive capabilities from that, as well as the dot it gives, because you do get offensive capabilities from DC, obviously, but the dot that helps you. But with Raider, you won't really need that dot. You'd still want it, but you don't need it. Another good spec is a very low level spec, Berserk. Where is it? Berserker. Okay, yeah. And that is because it gives this one from the Fae Chimera, and it gives the Berserk Mushroom. Is that what it's called? Is it called Berserk Mushroom for real? But yeah. So your abilities are a bit hard to get into if you're trying to do the safe and balanced approach, because certain risks, unless you're sure of your defense and your resistance, you wouldn't take. Because even trying to go into something like a Divine Bastion, you have to ensure that you can actually do without those 3 turns that you'll be using to cast that. So I would say on Realm, and someone asked me to do a Realm playthrough, so I am going to do that soon. I'm just trying to gather some shards to get some nice stuff first. Like, I just need some shards because, as you guys saw, I've actually started building my tower on both my accounts. So I would say Catapack or Raider, just to be as defensive as possible. And I think you guys are noticing a recurring theme now, which is the tankiness that is required. And I'm going to go ahead and say, do not underestimate any mobs. But I'll be talking more about that when we get inside the tower in the next video. So general theme, be tanky, try to do some damage, utilize the weaknesses, if you can, of the bosses, meaning have weapons with certain elements on them for the end tower bosses. Stuff like that will make it so that you are going through them safely and reliably, because killing those bosses without exploiting their weaknesses is just going to be so much slower than exploiting their weaknesses. Yes, obvious, but I just think I need to say it just in case. Deity. This is probably the best early game class to be doing this as, especially if you don't have gear, because Deity has so much base stats. This is versus Realm Shifter. It has 667 more defense, 667 more resistance, 215 more dexterity. It's just an overall beast. Look at that. 2,400 more HP. Obviously, it's going to have a lot more mana. Let's change to Heretic and see the difference. So 700 more defense than Heretics. So already you have something to work with. And if you have half decent gear, you will be able to get through it as a deity. So that's all you really need to focus on if you don't have it and you're finding that you're dying too easily. Gear. And when I say tanky, I mean a balance between defense, as in physical defense, and magical defense, or what we call resistance. So I don't think I need to say anything about this class. This class is just, it's so strong. You don't even need Ashen Phoenix with this thing if you're doing AoE. But depending on it to proc without AoE is a bit more risky, and I would still bring Ashen Phoenix. But you have options with this class. Especially, as I keep saying, as you get stronger. As you get stronger, you'll be able to do a lot more. But if you're just starting out, you're a fresh tier 10 and you happen to have this class among the others, I would say this is the safe bet class. And you must have heard all I've said about the other classes. So combine that knowledge and know that this class, its versatility is immense. So I'm going to go through the specs really quickly. So I'm not going to lie, I never mentioned Inquisitor, but you see this skill, Blessed Shield, guys, it can get you out of some things, I'm telling you. As well as if you have Cleanse, you're not doing half bad, but you probably are just going to Panacea. So I would say Blessed Shield if you're trying to cheap it out. If you have a bit less good gear, you could try, you're going to try to be as tanky as possible, as well as you're still going to try to use the deity class and the Ashen Phoenix pet with basic defensive and resistance gear, with Golem's Fortitude, Barrier 2, Blessed Shield, and DC. You are hella tanky for most things. Some things are still going to penetrate the defenses, be it because of high M1 value or just you not reaching as much as you could because of gear stats. It's still going to help you a lot more than not having it. So that's like a wild card. I don't expect people to actually use it. But if you find yourself dying even as Catapack, try it. It's a cheap specialization. So, but is it Cataphractic? It's PH. But I call it, well, that's how I learned it when I was watching Orna videos coming up. So I'm just gonna keep on saying it like that. But yeah, so even more defenses and resistance and HP for your deity here. I don't think I need to mention much of that. Raider is also a good one. As usual, you need that Amity. But Raider helps you to be tanky, and it also helps you to drain your HP each turn. And that utilizes your Demigod passive, is it? Yeah. So you're basically just trying to be a tank. It's a tank test throughout, especially on the higher floors, but you're just going to be playing safely on every floor, making sure that you are always in good health and in good condition before trying to do especially multi-turn skills. And even then, I don't really recommend them that much. Now, that is my general take on the classes for now. Like not 2 weeks, 1 week in. So obviously things can change and things might change. We don't know. For now, this is reliable info that you can go on. I'm actually going to have to go into gear separately. This is how dedicated I am, guys. So that means my my tower is ready. And this is how I log out of my tower. That means my tower is ready, so I'm going to start the cooldown. But yeah, guys, as I was saying, this info is going to be as reliable as it gets because I've done it. I've done it. Hold to enter. But yeah, guys, shout out to my patrons as usual: Deluxe, Urban and Bear, Makana, Night Sky, Eren, Technique, and Daishi. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I hope all my viewers are having a wonderful day. And yeah, see you guys. And I hope this was useful. If it was, remember to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. Yeah. Take care, guys.